Welcome to the Explainer. So, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the crazy number of language learning apps, pricey tutors, and super complex programs out there, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're breaking down a highly pragmatic, entirely solo method for mastering a new language, right from your own living room. Seriously, this is a zero human interaction playbook designed to cut through all the noise and get you straight to fluency.
Learning a language is actually very easy. Okay, I know, it almost sounds like an insult, right? But let's lean into the irony of this quote from our source material. Because the truth is, most of the advice you find on the internet turns language learning into an absolute nightmare. Think expensive apps, gated content, impossibly strict schedules. But the reality? The actual mechanics of learning are surprisingly straightforward once you strip away all that unnecessary complication.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with motivation and choosing wisely, then walk through our three-step method: the basics, listening practice, and speaking out loud. And finally, navigating the real world. Let's dive in.
Section 1. Motivation and choosing wisely.
Before we even think about opening a book or clicking on a video, we have to make sure we aren't setting ourselves up for failure right out of the gate. Your reason for learning literally dictates whether you'll stick with it or just quit by next Tuesday. Trying to learn Japanese just to understand anime, or picking up French to impress strangers or get YouTube views, that feels like a chore, and it'll burn you out in a day. But what about spite, or absolute necessity? If your friends made a group chat without you because you don't speak Spanish, or you need English to survive a British invasion, well, those are incredible, undeniable motivators. The stakes absolutely have to be real for you.
Now, if you're sitting there right now thinking, well, I don't really have a high-stakes motivation, I kind of just want to learn something, then you should absolutely default to Spanish, French, or Portuguese. Our source points out that not only are these historically the easiest languages for English speakers to pick up, but they're also widely spoken all over the globe. Honestly, picking one of these three will maximize your chances of success and help you actually enjoy the whole process. Section 2. Step 1. The basics.
Okay, time to get into the actual learning methodology. We are officially moving way past that common trap where people just get stuck on the language learning side of YouTube, endlessly watching videos about learning languages without actually learning a single word. So here's the exact three-step roadmap we're covering today. Step 1, the basics, using a beginner textbook. Step 2, listening practice, using YouTube videos. And Step 3, speaking practice, by literally talking to a camera. People on the internet are always going to tell you that you need a tutor or a friend to sit down and talk to you like a baby. And sure, that works, but it requires human interaction. This entire three-step process, you do it completely alone. For Step 1, literally all you need is a beginner textbook with some practice exercises. You can easily find them for free as PDFs online, or just grab one at your local library. And just to put this into perspective, doing just 1 month of working through a beginner textbook gives you the exact same progress as 2 whole years of tapping away on Duolingo, or a staggering 12 years of the American schooling system. Yeah, just get the book, do the exercises, and get the basics down.
Section 3. Step 2. Listening practice.
So once you've spent that month finishing up your textbook, hold on, you don't need to worry about speaking just yet. First, you desperately need to learn what the language actually sounds like out in the real world. The easiest way to do this? Watching YouTube videos in your target language. You just use context clues to slowly pick up the few thousand words used in normal, everyday conversation. But a huge frustration for a lot of learners is turning on a video and hearing absolute, pure gibberish. It is so overwhelming. But hey, it's not your fault. Native speakers just talk way too fast. In a weird way, they're essentially gatekeeping their own language.
But do not let them gatekeep you. The hilariously simple solution to this whole problem is to just go to the YouTube search bar and add the magic word easy right next to whatever language you're looking up. Almost instantly, the algorithm is going to serve up comprehensible input, videos of people speaking at a much slower pace that you can actually digest and understand. Now, as you watch these videos, there is a massive trap that you absolutely must avoid. The right way to watch is by using context clues and auto captions in your target language, so you can easily rewind and look up words you don't know. The absolute wrong way? Turning on English subtitles. If you do that, you're going to spend 5 years thinking you're learning Japanese from anime, when in reality, all you've done is read English for half a decade. You'll literally end up with nothing to show for it but a Discord Nitro subscription. So stick to the target language subtitles. Eventually, just through sheer repetition, you're going to hit this magic number, 70. 70% is the exact comprehension threshold you need to reach while watching these videos.
The moment you can understand 70% of what's being said, that's when you are officially ready to finally open your mouth.
Section 4. Step 3. Speaking out loud.
All right, this is the final core learning step of our solo playbook. This is where we transition away from just passively absorbing YouTube content and move into actively producing the language ourselves. So the crucial point here is you absolutely do not need a language partner for this. Instead, you simply pause the YouTube videos you're watching and repeat useful sentences out loud. You can pretend you're in a real conversation. And most importantly, sit down and record yourself talking to a camera about your day, your plans, literally anything. If you forget a word, no big deal. Just use English as a filler and keep that momentum going. Then, after you finish recording your solo conversation, you get to become your own teacher. You sit down, review the tape, and every single time you hear yourself use an English filler word, you look up how to actually say it using translation tools like DeepL or Reverso Context. Now, I know this might look like a pretty lonely way to learn, but whenever someone tells you they are completely self-taught, this meticulous, totally solo process is exactly what they were doing behind closed doors.
Section 5. Navigating the real world.
Because, hey, congratulations, you are now fluent in your bedroom. But eventually, the inevitable reality hits. You're going to have to step outside, travel, and actually interact with native speakers in their own countries. And when you do, you'll quickly realize that knowing all the vocabulary in the world is completely useless if you don't understand the culture and the current politics of the place you're visiting. Let's take France, for example. Your expectation might be, romantic views and eating baguettes by the Eiffel Tower. But the reality? You might walk right into hundreds of French farmers driving tractors into the capital to form a massive blockade. If you ask a local, they're probably going to tell you that creative protesting is just a normal way to pass the time in France. To help bridge this kind of cultural gap, our source introduces Ground News. We're looking at this as a really incredible, neutral tool for cultural education. It's essentially a news aggregator that pulls from multiple sources globally and gives you totally transparent insights into the underlying political bias of those sources, which is super helpful for keeping you informed on the reality of the ground. Now, what's really interesting here is the full coverage feature. If we take that French farmer protest again, this feature breaks down a major international story across the entire political spectrum. It takes over 300 different sources covering the exact same story and shows you exactly how the left, the center, and the right are all framing these events completely differently. And by comparing the actual headlines across these biases, you really get the full picture. One side's headline might frame the protesters as, quote, angry manure-slinging traffic blockers, while another side completely flips it and frames them as strong revolutionary heroes. Understanding the spectrum is what prevents you from looking totally confused when you travel. You'll actually understand all the cultural nuances of the conversations happening around you. To help learners stay informed globally and keep up with these vital cultural contexts, our source material actually includes a promotional discount, offering 30% off the Ground News Vantage plan, which includes unlimited access to their international edition. It's just a highly recommended tool if you want your new language skills to actually translate into real-world competence. To wrap up today's explainer, this quote perfectly summarizes the entirely solitary, super pragmatic approach we've just explored. Becoming fluent doesn't require expensive tutors or daunting classes. It is literally just reading a textbook, watching YouTube with the right subtitles, and talking to a camera. It definitely takes dedication, but the path is remarkably clear. So I'll leave you with this final, incredibly practical question. Are you ready to start talking to yourself?